Welcome to Books in the Freezer, a podcast dedicated to the deliciously disturbing world of horror fiction. I'm your host, Stephanie, and today I am joined by author and returning guest, Rachel Harrison. Welcome back.
I hope y'all aren't sick of me. Well, if you're a Patreon person, maybe you'll be sick of me because we just did the Mitski episode. But if not, it's been a while. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
So
I don't think people are sick of you.
if you are, I'm going to badger you into not being sick of me. I'm going to charm you. And if you're not sick of me, hello, I love you.
We are here today to talk about vampire horror.
The best,
Yeah.
in- as for now. 2 years ago, I was like, werewolves are the best. Now I'm like, vampires are the best, obviously.
We got to be excited about what's out right now.
I think, and also like, it's about to be fall, and I
hmm
think I want like a real vampy fall for all of us. I want
Yeah.
like dim lighting, like basement speakeasies, cool wallpaper, lots of candles, lots of indulgence. I
Some
like,
some red lipstick.
yes, black, like crazy fabric, lace, like let's all just go for it. I want that to be the vibe for us this fall. Very
Okay.
vampy, very like chatting with strangers in dark corners.
Okay. You heard it here first. We will be transitioning from Brat Summer to Vampire Fall.
Yes,
Spread the word. You have a book coming out.
I do.
But
Coincidentally, a vampire book. No,
no one would have guessed.
yeah. The vampire falls totally separate from me trying to promote my book. Totally separate. Unrelated.
Well, I loved this one, but can you tell our listeners a little bit about So Thirsty?
It's gonna be hard for me because I say so a lot. So I'm gonna be like, so thirsty is um it's about a woman named Sloane who is on the eve of her 36th birthday, and she's feeling kind of despondent and uninterested in her own life and just going through the motions. And her husband gives her a birthday weekend trip to a little cottage in the Finger Lakes, but it's not with him, it's with Naomi, Sloane's longtime best friend, who is a free spirit and a bit of a troublemaker. And the two meet up at the cottage. It's like cute little town vibes. And they go out to the little bar on Main Street, and Naomi has a chance encounter with a stranger. And from there, decides to give Sloane a little surprise that takes an unexpected turn, and the two have to face the consequences of that decision that will last literally forever. And it's not a spoiler to say that there's vampires.
Like I said, really loved this one. I loved Sloane and Naomi's friendship. I feel like you write such interesting and complex protagonists. And I really found that in Sloane, in that I mean, when we meet her, she's going through a lot. I guess she doesn't think she's going through a lot. She's just kind of
Numb.
going through the
Yeah.
motions. Yeah. And kind of think through this. But one thing I liked about her is that she's obsessed with disasters.
That's from me. I'm glad that you appreciate that because that's me. I have like a weird fixation with disasters, and like I will linger on a Wikipedia page forever just like finding out the weird, like, and I think it's the same because in the book, um Naomi says to Sloane, like, you're obsessed with tragedy. And Sloane's like, I'm not obsessed with tragedy, I'm obsessed with choice. And I think that as somebody who has tremendous anxiety, I think that's what fascinates me about disasters, where it's like, thinking about like Aberfan and those like little kids going to school. If you stayed home sick that day, and just the like chance and the way that our lives shift, and thinking about, I forget the hotel collapse. They did an episode of My Favorite Murder about it, where there was like a hotel. I think it was like maybe it was in the Midwest. I don't remember, but there was like a walkway and the walkway collapsed. And just like, what are the chances that you're like on the walkway or underneath it or like a bridge collapse? Like, you would think that as somebody with anxiety, that's like the worst thing that I could do. And in some ways it is because I'm also terrified of human crushes. And like, I watched the Hillsborough documentary, like 30 for 30, not knowing what it was about. And so, like, the story unfolded in a way where I was like, as if like it was like I didn't know that it was a disaster. And now I'm terrified of human crushes. So that wasn't good. But I think there's something like cathartic about reading about those. I'm rambling, but like, are you the same way? Do you get like
Yes,
fixated on disasters? What is it about that that like draws us in?
truly all it does is give me more fodder to worry about in situations. Now I have, like, more scenarios.
Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's like anxiety is just such a like huge knot, and like to pull out a thread, like to be able to like point to something and be like, actually, when I'm in a crowd, I'm afraid of being crushed to death instead of just being like, I don't like to be in crowds. I think, or like, I feel really uncomfortable going across bridges. Why do I feel that way? Oh, because it could collapse and we could all
Yeah,
die.
yeah,
And I think maybe there's something to naming it that might be helpful as opposed to it just being like, this feels bad. And you can point to being like, well, actually, I'm justified in feeling scared on this plane because planes crash, you know? I don't
yeah.
know.
I feel like there's definitely something to that, but I don't know. There was, so yeah, Sloane, anxious curly, like us. But, she did have a quote that I really liked, where she said, like, being this anxious, all it does is make you feel smug in the face of disaster. I'm like, "Ugh, that is true." Like, because, like, every time something goes wrong, you get to be the person that's like, "I told you so."
I do enjoy and I told you so. Um, but like I think part of the book is pushing back against my
Yeah,
own, because that's me too, where I think anybody with anxiety, when something bad happens, we feel justified in our anxiety. And there's something like rewarding about that because it's like, this wasn't all for nothing. But there's a quote like, worrying is like praying for things you don't want. And
yeah,
I think that's part of Sloane's journey where she has to realize, like,
yeah,
yeah, bad shit happens, but like, there's also one of my favorite quotes of all time. Amy Hempel is one of my favorite writers. She writes short stories. And one of my favorite stories of all time, it's more like flash fiction, it's like a page, is called The Man in Bogota. And it's about uh, a woman who sees somebody else on a ledge who's threatening to jump. And she is wondering what she would say to that person so they don't jump. And she thinks about um, a news story she read about a man in Bogota who was a very like successful businessman, and he was kidnapped for ransom. But because it took a while to get the money, the kidnappers had to keep him alive, so they made him quit smoking. They like had him on the treadmill. They like completely changed his lifestyle. And when the ransom was paid and the man was released, his doctor said like, you're in perfect health. Like, this might have been the best thing that ever happened to you. And the woman things that she would say to the person on the ledge about the man in Bogota, who he wonders how we know that what happens to us isn't good. And I think about that a lot when I'm like, this is bad. This is the worst thing to ever
mhm,
happen to me. Like, how do we know it's not good? We don't in
yeah,
the grand scheme of life. Like, you think about, when you're young and like your friend is mad at you and you're like, this is the worst thing ever. But in the grand scheme of things, like maybe that was a good friendship breakup, or
yeah,
like you don't get into a certain school and like you really wanted to go to that school, but you go to another school and you meet the friends that you have for the rest of your life. Like, we don't know that what happens to us isn't good. And I think about that all the time. And I think that's a lesson that Sloane has to learn in
Yeah,
the book.
definitely. I mean, I don't know how this is gonna come across, but I feel like you're my Taylor Swift. Like, every time you write a book, it's, like, relevant. I'm like, "She's writing this specifically to me." I feel like you are taking notes from my therapy sessions, as I've said before. Um
That's a saying that I'm like your Taylor Swift. That's very, I know how much that means. That makes me feel very good.
But, I mean, also at the heart of the story, it's an ode to friendship, and a big thing that helps Sloane is her friendship with, like, wild card Naomi, in that, like, from the beginning, she's just saying, to quote, "Perks of being a wallflower," "People accept the kind of love they
Like,
think they
you deserve,
deserve.
yeah.
You deserve more. Tell yourself you deserve more. Like, I see you. I wish you could see the way I see you."
I think we've all had moments in our friendships like that, like on both sides.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I think like people ask me like, is this person like, especially with the return, they're like, who's who in the friend group? And I'm like, they're all me. There's like some elements from like there's some banter between Sloane and Naomi that's very much like would sound like if you listened in on a conversation between me and my friend Courtney Price, who's also an author. Welcome home, Caroline Klein. So like there's some banter there that's like very much us, but Sloane and Naomi are basically like the two parts of me, like two parts of my psyche where like once in a blue moon, I'm Naomi. I'm like, let's stay out late and take shots and like go crazy and like go to this random party. Every once in a while, I'm Naomi. But most of the time I'm Sloane. And that like push pull of like how does that coexist? And like I'm the friend who's like telling their other friends like, "What are you doing? Like get out of there, like cut your losses." But I'm also the friend who's like or to myself, I think most of the time I'm like, "Don't take risks, like play it safe." So it's kind of like the push pull between them is also like an internal struggle that I have. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people have those two, like angel and devil on your shoulder.
Yeah.
If less angel and more like a uh, administrative assistant who's just like, this is what you have to do today, ignore everything else. And I think it's an interesting dynamic to have within yourself and to have within friendships. And, but I think we need that counterbalance. I wanted to explore the tension and beauty there. And also to like, I think it's a very specific dynamic, the like careful and the careless, like, or carefree, I should say. I'm both within myself and I'm both in other friendships that I have. I think some friends bring out the
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm the Sloan. I'm the, like, "I don't think this is a good idea, guys."
But I think that, like, when we hang out, I think I'm the one who's like, let's get a shot then. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, we kind of adapt in whatever dynamic there is.
Mhm.
Um, and I also think long-term friendships, the friendship between Sloane and Naomi also kind of echoes my friendship with my friend Deanna, who I've been friends with since like 6th or 7th grade, where like if someone knows your whole history, like that's complicated too. And I had a friend from the time I was 3 years old to the time I was 20, and we had like a terrible friendship breakup. And it's because you only like she only saw me the way that I was when I was 12 or 14, and I only saw her that way too, and we both
Yeah.
changed. And so I think there's some of that in like a long-term friendship that I wanted to explore, like how come Deanna and I were able to like weather that storm of like we're not who we used to be versus other long-term friendships where it's like I cannot see you as the you are now.
Yeah.
And like life changes, like Sloane and Naomi become vampires. And like,
Yeah.
I think the older you get, the more life changes that you go through with your friends. Like, if you both have kids, if one of you has a kid, if like one of you is married and the other is still single, like these like big life changes, like how do friendships endure those? changes and how do we cope with those big life changes. Even if they're the same change, we might cope in different ways. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to acknowledge and explore those dynamics in friendships. And I think I love to write books about friendship because there's such important relationships, and I don't think they get enough um, spotlight in fiction.
And I would agree. And I think you do a great job at really navigating a lot of the like very specific, very complicated, like little micro dynamics, even within friendships. I'm just realizing we really haven't even touched on the vampirism.
I know, we're like, welcome to the vampire episode. And I'm just like, how about disasters? How about the man in Bogota? How about anxiety? How about friendship?
You know what? It's all good. People know. Um, but I was very excited when you announced you were doing a vampire novel. And I mean, there's so much within like we'll get into the vampire genre and vampire canon. Like when you were plotting this out, did you have any thoughts as to like what your vampires were going to be like what lore they were going to stick to?
I didn't think too much about it. So, the reason I wanted to write a vampire book is because I was looking in the mirror one day and thinking about, like, oh, I look different. Like, my face looks different than it used to. Like, I'm aging and like the anxiety around that. And also, then I was like, it's interesting because vampires don't see their reflection, but they also don't age. And I was like, that's interesting. And so I kind of took off down that avenue, and I had the idea. I never think titles always come last for me, but like this was the only book where I was like, I'm gonna write a vampire book called So Thirsty. And when I pitched the book, my editor was like, if you're gonna write a vampire book called So Thirsty, like it needs like there's gonna be an expectation that it's sexy. And so that's sort of like the book gets written, the vampires change and develop. And so the lore kind of came second to that because we like talked for like 10 minutes about what the book was about the book without even mentioning vampires. Like in my work, the monsters are kind of
Hmm.
secondary. So I didn't think too much about it. It was more about like adapting the lore to like what fit
Yeah.
the story. Um so like they don't have fangs, they don't turn into bats, they don't like melt in the sun, but they're sensitive to sunlight. But they're also like they just kind of adventure around and like have lots of sex and drink lots of blood. Like that's what fit these vampires. So
Yeah.
a little bit like, more Lestat than Louis. Like though they have some moral compass, but um yeah, so it was kind of like I didn't think too much about on the onset, like this is what my vampires are going to be like. I was
Hmm.
thinking more about the story, and then the vampires kind of adapted to fit the book.
That makes sense. Yeah, but I also wanted to talk about Sloane's aging anxiety because we're talking about another thing that is hitting me at this stage in my life.
You're younger than me. I turned 35 yesterday, so I'm a little bit like, "Ah." Um, I think it's really hard to be a woman aging. Um, and I talked to Agatha Andrews on She Wore Black a lot about this. Like, I think we're taught as women that aging is a bad thing and we lose
Hmm.
value as we get older. And I just don't think that's fucking true. And kind of having to like
Yeah.
break out against that own like it's so ingrained in us that as we get older we lose value, that having to like sit down and really think about like, well, actually I like myself way more now than I ever
Yeah.
have. And like if I could hang out with me now, if I could date me now versus like the me at 21, I'm picking me now for every single reason. And like I'm more confident in my own skin than I've ever been. And it doesn't mean I'm like I don't still have insecurities and it's not still frustrating to like
Hmm.
think to worry about collagen loss and all that shit. But like I think it's important for us to really think about like how we've been told that after a certain age, like our lives don't matter or we like are stuck in whatever path we choose. And to just think like 35 is still so
Yeah.
young. It's still so young. I'm like, it's not like, all right, we have kids or we get married and then like we just like sit around forever. Like we still get to have experiences and do crazy things and learn about ourselves. And I think challenging that idea while writing this book was really like fulfilling for me. I didn't sit down to like I kind of the same with such sharp teeth. I think I sort of had like a unexpected rewarding experience writing the book, like working through the issue. Doesn't mean that I've solved the issue for
Yeah.
myself, but like to just kind of like have an exercise where I had to spend like a year thinking about something and challenging my own beliefs. And I hope that that's something that people get out of the book where they finish it and they're just like, I've got a lot of life left to live and like
Mhm.
there's only like there's no such thing as like all downhill from here or
Yeah.
over the hill or whatever. Like that stuff's all bullshit.
It truly is. And I mean, it's an active deconstruction process. I just feel like there's so much that's just ingrained in us and how we view the world and how we are, why can't I think of the word for like looked at? Perceived.
Yes. And, you know, I was just thinking about I haven't what I used to like occasionally watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. I called it my brain vacation, but like it got too much for me, so I stopped. But like now there's like The Golden Bachelor and The Golden Bachelorette, and I fucking love that. And also The Golden Bachelor, they got married like 3 months after the finale. And then because they were like, why waste time? And then they also got divorced like 2 months later. And I kind of love that too because it's like
Yeah.
we don't have that much time left. Why they didn't just like, well, I made this decision and like it's going to be what it's going to be. Like they're still like it's just such a good
Mhm.
example of how, you know, life doesn't stop after a certain age. Like you still get to make decisions and figure out what's going to make you happy.
I found something that's really helped me is following certain creators on like Instagram and TikTok who are older and are bucking those conventions
Yeah.
that I had in mind. Like, I follow a woman named Heidi who's in her 60s and she dresses super cute and she talks about how she got her like sleeve tattoo in her 50s and she's like getting back into dating and she's done all these like fun things and goes to concerts and just does all these things that I in my mind was like, oh, after you get to a certain age, you're just like too old. If you haven't done this by this time, you're whatever. Just seeing people actively going against that, those like narratives you have in your mind, I feel like is really helpful.
And I feel like we didn't have that even
Yeah.
like 5 years ago. So I think it's helpful that like there does seem to be a shift.
Also, I feel like in this book, there's some really like high octane like action sequences.
Yeah, I try and challenge myself every with every new book, and my challenge for this book was like writing like kind of a road trip book that
Yeah.
didn't feel episodic. It's very hard to like write like a road trip book where it's not like we're here and now we go here and now we
Yeah.
go here. Like something has to happen to push them to the next spot. So there was that, and there's also a scene at at a gas station, like late in the book. And I was another, like, I kind of pitched this book as Thelma and Louise meets Let the Right One In. Or speaking of vampire, like, Let
Yeah.
the Right One In is one of maybe my favorite vampire movie of all time. Um, and the pool sequence in
Yeah.
Let the Right One In is like cinematic gold. Like I just love everything about that scene and I wanted to kind of capture that feeling or attempt to, and I kind of tried to do that at the gas station. Um, so that was my big, my pool scene is the gas station scene.
I love that. It was definitely like very big and fast paced. And I'm like, I could see this. Could see it. Very cinematic.
Hey, Hollywood.
Speaking of Hollywood, should we talk about some vampire movies? You already mentioned one.
Let's do it.
I also love Let the Right One In.
It's one of my I haven't seen I only have seen the original. I haven't seen
Yeah,
the, like, remake, and I think they're making a TV show about it. I don't know if it's come out yet?
I feel like it did on Showtime, but the fact
Um,
that I didn't hear much else about it,
yeah, that's interesting, and I'm, like, looking at your picks, and I'm like, "I haven't seen a lot of these," which makes me feel like I'm just gonna let you other than Interview with a Vampire and how good the TV show is, which I could talk about for another hour, but I will spare you. I haven't seen a lot of these movies.
oh, okay. Um, Near Dark was like 80s, kind of like cowboy vampires. I believe it was Catherine Bigelow directed it,
Really?
and Bill Pullman, I want to say.
Great,
Was
great.
one of the vampires. Bill Paxton. I always get them confused because of the
Yeah, but I love Bill Paxton, that's even better. I love Bill Paxton.
Okay, no, it takes place in the Midwest, but they are like a group of Southern vampires who
Okay.
like kidnap a random like Midwestern boy. And there's like, I think the memorable scene is there's a big blowout, a big confrontation at a bar where like kind of the group of vampires take over. And it's a lot of fun.
I am looking at images and, like, I need to watch this movie
Yes,
immediately.
you would like it.
Also,
Um,
just these pictures of Bill Paxton, like, covered in blood in a leather jacket,
yeah, he's so hot in it.
sunglasses. Yeah, this is unlocking something within me.
You didn't even know you needed.
Yeah. Happy birthday, me. Okay.
And then The Hunger was also 80s and very sexy. Catherine Deneuve and Susan Sarandon and David Bowie. But like Susan Sarandon is like a scientist. So she's a doctor who's like researching aging, of course, the science of aging. And she meets this like mysterious woman, Catherine Deneuve, and it's a lot of sexy scenes between Susan Sarandon and Catherine Deneuve, and David Bowie is there, and it's very 80s.
The movie poster is fucking amazing.
And then 30 Days of Night, oh, it's classic. Josh Hartnett
Now I need to I've never seen this one either. I was not
on the Josh Hartnett train.
until recently. I feel like like, I've come to my senses now as an adult. Like, I've come around. I get it now. I'm sorry that I didn't back in the day.
Maybe it was
I
his like shitty haircut, but like now with the facial hair, he's a little more weathered. We see it.
but see, I like the ni like, the 90s, early 2000s boy, like, long bang.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I
the
was
look.
talking about he has like an awful haircut, and I want to say Halloween H2O, where it's like the straight
Mm,
across and it's really bad. Um but 30 Days of Night takes place in a town in Alaska that for 30 days they do not, the sun goes down. It's just night for 30 days, and they get infiltrated by these vampires who begin attacking the town. And Josh Hartnett and his wife are like the law enforcement in the town, and they're trying to fight off these like gangs of vampires. And it's based on a graphic novel. And I will say, if you've read the graphic novel and then watched the movie, it's crazy how accurate the creature design is for the vampires. Like they look like they were pulled off the page.
huh, and it's good because I
Yeah.
mean, that could go either way. I'm gonna watch that one too. Maybe I'm having my Hartnett renaissance.
Yeah. And then you haven't seen Blade?
I watched it once when I was very
Yeah.
young, but it was like I feel like I was, like, with friends, so I
Yeah.
don't like, I have, like, glimpses of it, but, um, I haven't like, I wouldn't say that I didn't, like, have, like, a proper viewing of it.
No, that makes sense. And I rewatched it, I wanna say, like, last year, but I think I was the same way before then. I had only watched it years before, and really the thing that stuck out to me was the blood sprinklers at the club in the opening. Like, they're at a club and they're all
Yeah.
dancing and the blood.
That I remember. Yeah. That I remember. Like, I just have, like, little glimpses. I
Yeah.
feel like I definitely watched it at a sleepover, and, like, any sleepover viewing of a movie is like
You're not picking up on all the plot and
no,
the
no.
nuances. But I haven't seen the Interview with the Vampire show. I know. So please tell me.
Silly.
This is where you
They
schooled
just
me.
put it on Netflix,
Okay.
so you have no excuse. I, like, got AMC Plus just so I could watch it, which also I get Shudder now, so it was worth it. But the Interview with the Vampire TV show is so good. Everything about it, the writing, the direction, the performance is perfectly cast. And the actress who played Claudia in season 1 couldn't come back for season 2, and I was a little bit concerned,
Yeah.
and I ended up I'm sure it would be jarring if you binge the whole thing, but because I watched season 1 and then however long passed before season 2 came out, it wasn't that jarring for me. And I actually really enjoyed I was kind of like, how could this actress beat the first performance? And like just incredible, just perfect. And every like the casting, performances, the costumes, the sets, the vibes, it's just everything you could possibly want from a vampire show, from an interview with a vampire adaptation, and just the way that it goes deeper on the themes in the book. And yeah, it's also like sexy and fun and just everything you could possibly want from a vampire, from any vampire art in any medium. Um, and it's not too heavy, it's not too silly, it's just the perfect balance of everything. And season 3 is going into like 80s rock star vampire Lestat, which is just gonna be the best because
Oh,
Sam
perfect.
Reed is, I think, the like I was talking to Christy Demeester about this because we just like fangirl over the show over text. Christy Demeester wrote Such a Pretty Smile. And we were like, she was like, it's like he's channeling Lestat. It's like he is Lestat. Like, just, it's amazing. Yeah, I could gush about it forever, but it's just like, it's as good as everybody says it is. Like, I cannot overhype it.
Okay. I will have to get to it. Did you read any of the Vampire Chronicles?
Interview with a Vampire, I like took out from the library when I was a teenager. And I think I was just kind of like, I don't think I picked up on a lot of what was being put down. So I would love to reread it.
It definitely holds up. I listened to it as an audiobook a few years ago, and I found that that worked a little better because I think it's
Mm.
pretty dense.
That's why I think as teenage me, like, had a little bit of trouble with it.
It's grappling with a lot of like heavy philosophical
Yeah.
topics. But I'm so glad that it's going into like Queen of the Damned territory, or like the Vampire Lestat, I guess is the book.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
for season 3.
Especially since in Queen of the Damned, he's like a new metal guy.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about I'm very interested to see where they take it because they released, like, a teaser and,
Hmm.
like, he's performing a song and he's in, like, crazy rock star outfits, so it'll be really interesting to see where it goes, and I feel like they're already filming, so it should be out. Like, we're not gonna have to wait,
Hmm.
like, House of the Dragon style, like, it's gonna be 2 years until you find out what happens next.
Oh, that's good. It's just crazy. There's so much vampire media. I don't even feel like we scratched the surface. Like, we didn't talk about Lost Boys. We didn't talk about like what we do in the shadows. Like, there's just truly so much.
Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows is a different I really love the movie. The show I kind of, like was hard for me to keep up. There's just, like, season after season, and it's great, but, yeah, and I think what's interesting is, like, people are talking like a vampire resurgence, but I think it's vampire resurgence is really in the book world.
Well, I feel like they've had a fairly steady presence, like, maybe not a boom, but they've you can look back, they've kind of always been there. I feel like we've always been releasing some kind of vampire media. I don't think it ever really went away.
Yeah, I don't think it ever went away. I think now it's just a little bit more like, there's a lot of vampire stuff coming out, like, that
Yeah.
kind of, or maybe I'm just noticing it because I'm in that world right now.
I mean, we can talk about it. Should we talk about some books?
Yeah, let's get into some books.
All right. I am starting off with We Love the Nightlife by Rachel Collar Croft. And this takes place in the London disco scene of the 70s. And this is kind of vampirism as a toxic friendship
Yeah,
dynamic.
that's exactly what it is.
This was a ton of fun, though. This is a thriller. We're following um, Nicola, who's a vampire, turns this woman, Amber, into a vampire, and they live together. We're following 50 years later, kind of present day. Amber is starting to become restless, and that becomes worse when she discovers a betrayal from Nicola, and she kind of starts to plan her out, which is difficult because, you're supernatural beings, and then you have to navigate kind of like the hierarchy of the vampires in London, and like who talks to who, and like who can be where. It's like this whole complicated web. Um but Nicola, of course, senses this restlessness and kind of does a last ditch, like, what if we opened a nightclub together, as vampires do? See
Yes.
what we do in the shadows. But kind of like as this bid to like revive this and kind of channel into like what brought them together in the first place and relive their days as dancing queens. But of course, like things are going to get complicated. You bring like other people into the mix. And I thought this was a ton of fun. It was stressful reading all of like Amber's plans and everything she had to go through. It was kind of, it kind of felt like, I mean, it is like a toxic relationship, but it almost felt like a woman leaving like an abusive partner. Like she had to like find a way to like set money aside where like Nicola wouldn't see, and like make sure she had like safe places to hold everything and have like exit plans, but also kind of act like everything is okay.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of that, and I also think, like, it's a good look at how, like, friendships can be abusive too,
Yeah.
but, like, wrapped up in, like, a super fun disco,
Yeah.
like, we're out in London drinking French 75s, like, wearing sequins, like.
This I feel like this would also be like a fun adaptation to really get into that like period piece disco club scene.
Yeah, it's a very, like, unique scene to, like, to think about and to bring to life, and it's, like, the most fun. Like, I would love to dress up in disco clothes and go clubbing in London.
It was funny because when I read the synopsis for this, like, the language they used was, like they did use vampirism, like, subtly, so I was like, "Oh, it's just, like, they're speaking metaphorically," and then I got, like, a chapter and I'm like, "Oh, no, they're literal vampires, okay." I thought this was just, like
Capital V vampires, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, "Well, that's good." I mean, I love that. But it was funny, just my thoughts going into it were like, "Okay, we're just, like, metaphorical." Nope, literal.
Literal vampires.
So this was fun. I would put this as room temperature. It's a good thriller. I love the dynamics that are explored with kind of vampirism as the medium for that. So that is We Love the Nightlife by Rachel Collar Croft.
So my first pick is also kind of toxic friendship, not really. It's The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. The Pallbearers Club is essentially the memoir of Art Barbara, which is not his real name, that has been annotated by his friend Mercy, also not her real name. It's an unconventional vampire story about a long-time platonic friendship between misfits, featuring New England vampire lore of Mercy Brown. Um, there's like grave digging and Polaroids and Husker Du. Um, I describe the book as like a punk rock love letter to misfits, to anyone who felt like they never quite fit in and found someone who understood them, but the stakes of that friendship felt more intense because of that. Um, Art Barbara meets Mercy in the pallbearers club, and he like doesn't really have a lot of friends, and he meets this like cool older girl who's like super into punk rock, and like they start hanging out. And I think it's hard when you don't have a lot of friends and you find a friend to like hang everything on that friendship, or to just have that like deep emotional investment that can be very fulfilling, but it can also feel very draining. Um, it's like the push and pull of that friendship, and how they can make us feel immortal, but they can also make us feel like shit.
Yeah.
I don't think there are enough novels about platonic friendship between men and women.
Yeah.
So um, that's very, I really like that because I have a lot of guy friends, and like I don't see that reflected a lot in fiction.
Mhm.
Um, so I really appreciated the book for that. I just connected to it deeply as someone who's felt like a misfit before. And the look at the friendship that isn't, it's like not an even friendship. Like one, like Mercy has, I think, a little bit more power in the friendship. Maybe sometimes Art does. Um, and like the inconsistency about it over the years, and how they like drift apart and find each other again. And it also made me think about like how well we know the people that we're close to, because even though Art and Mercy are very, very close, like Art thinks Mercy is a vampire, and she may or may not be.
Yeah.
um so I would describe, it's like it's a book about friendship, and like the people who can potentially save us but maybe can't save us, what we project onto them, what we give and take, and then it just has like cool vampire sprinkles. Like it's
Yeah.
not, I think this is definitely a room temperature book. I think a lot of people went into it expecting like Head Full of Ghosts, and it's not that. It's not gonna like terrify. There are some scenes that like definitely got under my skin, and it's ambiguous in the way that a lot of Paul's fiction is, but it's one of my favorite books of all time. So I had to give it a
Yeah.
shout out.
You also dressed up as Mercy.
I did. I'm fucking stressed because I don't have a Halloween costume this year. I'm so stressed. Um, the last 2 years, I, like, read a book and was like, "Oh, that's gonna be it." And I also, like, don't have a lot of time, and I've, like, blown my whole budget on, like, tour outfits, so we shall
Maybe you
see.
could do a Nicola and Amber, like a
I
glitzy clubbing
I
1970s
do.
glam.
I do. I had, like, found a couple months ago this, like, gold sequin capelet with, like, fringe on it, so maybe I could
Ooh.
figure something out there. But yes, I loved Mercy. Mercy made me wish I was still I used to act. I was a theater kid when I was younger. I was like, if they ever did like a play or a movie, I would love to play Mercy. Like it was just one of those characters where I was just like, oh, I just love her. She's so cool.
She is.
And just like such a like fun, slippery character.
All right, my next pick is Night's Edge by Liz Karen, and we're keeping the toxic vibes going. So this is vampirism as a metaphor for toxic mother-daughter relationships. Um, as of this recording, I still haven't read First Light, so my talk is going to be just about Night's Edge. And this is about a girl named Mia who has to take care of her mother and has had to do that for most of her life. Her mother is a vampire, and in this world, it's kind of like a disease, and it is like kind of acknowledged by the government. Like they have a name, like they're Sarah's. Um, and like in this world, to be able to like enter a business, you have to kind of like do a blood test and prove that you don't have any of the disease. Like you're not a Sarah. And so she's essentially, because her mom can't operate in society like a normal mother can, she's had to be financially responsible, like take on all of these extra responsibilities and also like provide her mother with blood. Like it's a very toxic, parentified relationship that she's had. And also, when we start the book, she is now at the age her mother was when she turned. So she's also going to start appearing older than her mother, which is another like
Yeah.
really fascinating layer to that whole dynamic. I just thought the way that she used vampirism to really explore the dynamics in this relationship and even explore Mia's mom and like what drove her to be here, like the things she's going through, the things she's struggling with. And just we see this dynamic between two like complicated people that are living kind of two different stories. Like Mia is a girl who's trapped and is trying to get out and is finding first love and is stuck in this situation. And her mom has also had her share of like heartbreaks and issues, and that doesn't absolve this, but it does lend you like a little, you have a bit more empathy for her. And I love like a complicated dynamic where we're really looking at all of the parties in this.
Yeah, it's just such a like exquisitely balanced
Mhm.
like portrayal of of the mother-daughter relationship. Um and I think a lot of like it's easy to like hate Izzy the mother, but it's
Yeah.
also like I just had so much empathy for her and like um I it's also like such a good coming of age novel. And like and it's such an original take on vampirism because
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the word vampire is never used. They're
Mhm.
Sarah's. Um and so it's just an interesting, I mean, but the Sarahs are vampires.
Yeah.
So it's just such an interesting take on it. And it felt very like grounded in the real world, which makes like the mother-daughter relationship like that much more poignant.
Yeah. I agree. And I mean, not to make this about Gilmore Girls in a way, but I feel like one of the reasons it's endured and it's something that people keep coming back to was because you have a lot of these complicated characters, but you can take a step back and see everything from like everyone's side. Like
Yeah.
everyone feels fully valid in their way of doing things, whether it's right or wrong, and you can see why they got to where they got.
Yeah.
And I feel like she does that really well.
Yeah. It's not like one-sided or it's not
Hmm.
like it's very nuanced.
So that, and I would say that is room temperature. There definitely are some confrontations, some like tense moments.
Yeah.
That is A Knight's Edge by Liz Karen, and it is part of a duology. And the next one is First Light.
And First Light is great as well. Very like
Excellent.
satisfying
Oh, good.
sequel and conclusion to Mia's story. So my next pick is Reluctant Immortals by Gwendolyn Keist. It's a historical horror novel set in the 1960s, in between like Los Angeles and San Francisco, like the Haight-Ashbury district. And it's about Lucy Wisnera from Dracula and Bertha Mason from Jane Eyre, who have linked up and bonded over the terrible men in their now immortal lives, Dracula and Rochester. So it's a really imaginative premise just to like put those two characters in
Yeah.
the 1960s in LA and San Francisco, like just like summer of love, like hippie culture. Like it's just so fucking cool. The setting is so rich. The characters are really strong and well done. So if you're looking for like a vampire novel that's unique and not like that's historical, but in a different way, it's not like a like running in and out of castles historical. Like it's just I've never like to see the vampires in this setting and to like have the classic characters. It's just so fun. And even though the book is like fun and entertaining, it's also like a very heartfelt look at female friendship. And I wouldn't say it's toxic friendship. Like I think there's some tension, but it's like actually a really beautiful friendship between Lucy and B. Um, there's also a lovely queer relationship in the book. It won a Lambda. Um, and I just think if you're a fan of vampires or if you're like a big Dracula girly, like the version, like Gwendolyn's version of Dracula is like like original, but also like feels like classic Dracula. Um, so if you love a like clever reworking of classics, if you want your like balance between something that's original and that also has like that like satisfying Dracula classic vampire feel to it. This is the book that marries it all perfectly. And I think it's room temperature. Um, there are definitely some like scary moments, but I think it's a room temp. And that's Reluctant Immortals by Gwendolyn Keist.
I really liked that one. I thought that one was fun.
It's super, and just like I think like it has one of the best opening lines. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I don't want to butcher it, but I remember just being like, "Oh, like I'm in. I'm in." Like and like Dracula's ashes are like kept in different urns that she has to like if the urns break, he'll come back. Like it's just so like her imagination just blows my mind.
My final official pick is Thirst by Marina Yushik. This came out this year. This was translated. This is from Argentina. And this is a dual POV novel. You're following one POV is a centuries old vampire, and the other POV is a single mother in modern day Buenos Aires coping with her mother's terminal illness. I loved the historical chapters where you learn the vampire's story and how they fled from Europe for Buenos Aires in the 1800s, and she goes there for safety, and you see kind of what she has to do to survive, but you also see like through her eyes the history of Argentina, and specifically like the yellow fever epidemic of 1871. And I think just her chapters as you see essentially what she has to do to survive, but also her kind of emotional remove from it since she's been turned. Just like, yeah, I had to lure this woman here and kill her. Like, and what? um, but also fascinating that like she would like roam the streets and like people would disappear, and so like there started to be like old wives tales about like don't be out late at night because you might disappear, so you kind of see like how her presence is also affecting this culture and like the history in itself.
Right.
um and um then you follow kind of like a modern day woman who sees her, and this woman is dealing with depression and dealing with just like the struggles of like taking care of her son and now like having to say goodbye to her mother. And the book is really about like that liminal state between life and death, and these two women finding each other. And I just thought it was crazy how it was done in like such a short page count. Like I flew through this book. I absolutely loved like the older vampire, though. I'm putting this in the fridge because her chapters get, like, increasingly and increasingly violent, like, she kills, priests, and, like, the way she lays his body out, like, theatrically, like, filling, like, a chalice with his blood and, like, posing his
Ooh.
body in, like, a Christ pose. Like, I'm like, I feel like that was a little unnecessary, but, like, kinda metal too, so
Yeah.
maybe.
We've been around for that long. You got to keep it interesting somehow.
I just thought she was such a fascinating character. And that is Thirst by Marina Yashuk.
That great cover.
Yes,
Great cover. I want to read that one too. And you said how long is it?
255.
Okay, yeah, I like that. All right, on my TBR. So my final pick is Nestlings by Nat Cassidy, which is another like unconventional vampire story. It's about married couple Reed and Anna who are struggling emotionally and financially after the birth of their daughter Charlie has left Anna paralyzed, and they are down on their luck, but they win a New York City housing lottery, which like is the fucking dream. And it's for an apartment at the Deptford, which is like a famous, fancy New York City apartment building. Um, and they move in, and immediately it's clear to Anna that not all is as it seems. But like Reed is just so thoroughly charmed and like very optimistic and feels like their luck is finally changing. So there's a lot of tension between them as Anna like hangs on to this like oh, I don't know about this. And Reed is kind of just completely like swept up in it. And I think I've been thinking a lot about nestlings, because I think it works on a vampire novel on like two levels, because there are like draining creatures in the novel, like there are monsters, but it's also really like the building itself and frankly like the entire world around our protagonists that's like just bleeding them dry, that's like constantly taking and taking without much care or empathy, like Anna dealing with like now being in a body that's unfamiliar to her and having to like be a mother, and like the lack of empathy and support that she gets, and Reed feeling like the weight of the world on his shoulders but also like not taking to his new responsibilities well, like not taking care of Anna, like the guilt around them. I was joking with Nat because this book made me miss New York City so much, but like also like reminded me why I don't live there anymore, because like it's so expensive and so doesn't give a shit about your feelings, and like just like reading the book you feel the like emotional drain on Reed and Anna from like from every angle. And I think that's to me what makes Nestling such a cool vampire book, because it's more than just the monsters.
Yeah.
It's everything and all the like real world stuff that feels like the vampire in the book to me.
Yeah.
Um it's also the scariest book of my trio of picks. I think it's close to Freezer. Have you read this one?
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
it's
I would agree. There's some images that have stuck with me. Also, I would say like the way that it opens up, even like that first chapter, I was like, "Oh,
yeah.
this is
It,
where we're starting."
yeah.
Okay.
We're starting at about 11 and we're just going to keep dialing it up from there. Um so that is Nestlings by Nat Cassidy.
I love that. I cuz we said there's so many vampire books. I still had a few I wanted to squeeze in here. Like Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas, which is like a really good mix of romance with vampires where it takes place in, I want to say 19th century Mexico. I think that's right.
I think that's
19th
right.
or 18th century.
Yeah.
19th seems more right. 19th century Mexico, and you're following these two like kind of childhood friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, who were like separated, and they didn't know what happened to the other one, but like they're put back together by circumstances. Those circumstances are vampires. Um,
Ooh.
they're teaming up to fight these vampires, and this was a lot of fun. I also finished The Gathering by CJ Tudor, which
How's
is
that
kind.
one?
This was so fun. It's kind of like a crime novel. I would say this is a good marriage of like 30 Days of Night meets True Detective Night Country. It takes place in Alaska. And this is kind of like vampirism as like other. So this is like a world where like people know about vampires. They have to like keep to themselves, but a like forensic specialist gets called to this small town to look into this case where there was a boy murdered, and they think it was vampires, and if it does turn out to be vampires, they're essentially going to exterminate the whole colony.
Ooh.
So she needs to essentially prove that it was or it wasn't, and it's this like kind of small-minded small town where like they blame all of their problems on this group of people that they feel have like ruined their way of life. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting.
So I really liked that. Also wanted to mention Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, which takes place in Mexico City and is kind of this like neo noir with vampires, which I also thought was really fun.
I haven't read any of those and I need to. So I'm very behind.
There's so
Solid
much.
pitches. I know. I have two honorable mentions too. House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. I have talked about it on this year podcast before, so did I do it on the I think I did it for the Mitski episode with Love Me More.
Yeah.
So I just talked about it, so that's why I didn't pick it, but it's a compelling, fresh, like dark fantasy take on Elizabeth Bathory, and like a amazing world building as always with Alexis Henderson and about toxic romantic relationships, I think, and also like the difference between like being in different classes and a lot of that stuff. Even though it takes place in like a fictional world, it explores that very well in a very grounded way. And then Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina. This isn't a vampire book, I would say, but there's lore about um, the Dakota vampire. And while it's not central to the story, it's just like I really love what it added, and it's scary, and I just think scary and original. And I think the book is just really great read. So if you want your fiction with like a side of vampires, but like not your main course, just like
Okay.
the vampire fries, I would go with Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina.
Should put that on the cover. Vampire fries.
Vampire fries.
I love that. I feel like we've covered a lot of vampire books.
We did our best.
Yeah. I'm sorry, there's definitely going to be stuff that we missed.
Yes,
All right, well, are we ready to talk chilling obsessions?
I'm ready.
All right.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Um, so I found I've been like getting back really back into thrifting lately because I've been like kind of experimenting with fashion. And I was in Boston last week, and we were just walking around and we happened upon the Garment District, which is a store. And when I was in college, we would go there to like find our Halloween costumes. And what I remember about it is there's just like a huge pile of clothing on the floor.
Oh.
And it's like you pick out stuff and buy it per pound. And that always really stressed me out. Like just the giant pile and having to like sift through it. That's a little too much for me. Um, but upstairs, there's the greatest collection of vintage clothes. And I don't know why I didn't take advantage of it in college. Maybe it was like it was more pile and less vintage. Um, but I had you could spend forever there, but we had the best time just like going through old vintage clothes and picking different stuff out. And I found the most amazing vintage cult leader midsummer 1970s dress ever. And I I was just kind of like picking things out, and I bought another dress there that's like from the 90s and like normal, and I could wear it wherever and it wouldn't people wouldn't be like, "What the fuck are you wearing?" Um, but this dress is just so out there. And so I just was like, I want to try it on just because it's wacky and like um but I put it on in the dressing room and it fit perfectly. It's not the most flattering, it's a high neck and like not the best on my shape, but like it just fit me like fit everything my entire body perfectly, fit my like the sleeves, the length, and like I'm 5'3", so most stuff is long on me. It just felt like it was meant for me. It has beautiful like detail, like lace, pearls, just everything about it was so beautiful. And it was only $25, which is insane to me because it's in great condition and it's a beautiful dress.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I found that dress in Brooklyn, it would be like $300 even, like, though it probably needs a dry clean. Um, and I was toying with the idea. I have like an idea for like a folk horror novel that I've been toying with. And when I put it on, um, Nick was like, this could be like, this is like folk horror dress. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't even think of that. And it sort of shifted my perspective on like how I like listen to a lot of music and like read a lot of books and like to get inspiration for writing projects, but I never thought about how I could get inspiration from fashion.
Yeah.
And Um, just like looking at the dress and like it just feels like magical and it has this like rich history, but it also is very like, I'm gonna put on a flower crown and start a cult in the woods. Um, and I posted a picture of it and everyone was like, that dress is haunted. And I was like, if it is, I don't care. Like, I'm not giving it back to the ghosts. But um, so I just was thinking about like fashion as inspiration and like it's not super chilling, but it is kind of weird to like pick up a dress and know that like it's had a previous owner and like what occasion was it worn to in the 1970s and like what was that person's life like? And just like thinking about the history when you pick up a piece of vintage clothing, I think is fun and intriguing. So that's my new chilling obsession.
I love that. I watched a movie on Shudder a few weeks ago, and that was Death Spa
Death spa?
from 1988, which I guess was kind of during the rise of like fitness culture. So it's this like kind of big gym, with like a sauna and a pool. And the thing at this spa is that it's not AI because it's the 80s, but it's these like intuitive machines that like help you work out and like will essentially put on like the correct amount of weight and resistance for you
Huh.
on the machines. And it just had me thinking about like fitness horror and gym horror.
Ooh.
But it's kind of like all these things start going wrong. Like it opens up with a woman getting locked in the sauna after hours, and there's like a toxic gas coming out of the steam, and it starts to like burn her skin and she goes blind. That's the opening. There's
Wow.
like there's a scene where like a woman is on a diving board and like Final Destination style, like the screws just start to like
Oh my God.
unscrew themselves. Um, it's funny. I did see a lot of like Final Destination DNA in
But this
this
was
movie.
before?
This was
Fine.
1988.
So this is before.
Yeah, but like there's a guy who's like working out and like the machine starts to go haywire and put like a ton of weight and it just like rips his arms off.
Glad I haven't been to the gym in a minute. I'm not going back now.
But it's also just like wacky 1980s dialogue. Like the relationships are confusing and in like 1980s horror movie style, there's like beautiful women coming onto and throwing themselves at the most like average looking dudes. You can do better. Hillary Banks, okay?
Nothing like watching a movie and being like, you guys need to raise your standards.
Yeah. I just feel like that's so common in like the 80s movies. It's like, here's rando guy. Women are just constantly throwing themselves at him. I'm like, okay.
Ah, the 80s. Ah, life. Ah, heterosexual dating.
But it was a ton of fun. I watched it on like the drive-in with Joe Bob, so it was kind of fun to have those like intermission like fun fact
Yeah.
little commercial breaks. But yeah.
Great chilling obsession.
And for our second tradition, Rachel, what is your final girl song?
So I've been listening to a lot of Cannons this summer. Are you familiar with Cannons?
No.
It's like indie pop. Um, it's it's I saw them live a few years ago. And just like I think their biggest song is called Fire for You. Um, but I've been listening to them so much over the summer. I was like, I really want to do a Canon song because they're such a vibe. Um, but I like lyrically, none of the songs really fit a final girl narrative. Maybe Baby, but yeah, it's like dream pop, electro pop. That's the kind of vibe. And so like I was thinking maybe Baby, I was thinking maybe I think it's called Baby. Yeah, Baby Cannon from by Cannons off their album Shadows. Fire for You is their biggest song, also off Shadows. Great, great. I mean, 7 songs, more like an EP. But Ruthless was a single from them that I thought might be a good fit. But I keep coming back to Bad Dream, which was a single from them. And like lyrically, it doesn't really fit. But the video is kind of like, I think of Bad Dream as a Final Girl song because of the music video. Um,
Mm.
like the singer gets kidnapped and there's like a guy with a knife and he does like a weird dance. It's a good video. Um, so don't listen. I'm always like, you have to listen to the lyrics. This one I'm like, don't listen to the lyrics, just like listen to the song. And that's gonna be my pick because just vibes wise, not to like say the most cringe worthy 2 words ever, vibes wise, um, Bad Dream by Cannons is my is my final girl pick.
All right. I'm not familiar, but I will have to add it. And
I think you'll really love them.
my final girl song is Stranded by Gojira. And picking this because they had that awesome opening for the Olympics where
Oh
the
yeah.
they were like there, it like started off with like Marie Antoinette's like decapitated head like talking,
Yes.
and then it like pans out and they're all on ledges like rocking out. They are a French metal band and I saw them last year with Mastodon. They're very good live. But oh, it was just so cool to see them play on like such a big stage. This is another one where I'm gonna say it's just the music, maybe not so much
The
the lyrics.
lyrics.
The lyrics are like someone like turning away from someone trying to help them. Like that's not the vibes we're going for, but sonically, I feel like
Yes.
it's energizing.
Yeah,
It's energizing.
Bad Dreams is about like having a crush on somebody who is like moved on and is with somebody else. Which like I feel like if I were a final girl could be my lot where I'm like, my serial killer isn't paying attention to me anymore. I can't believe this. You don't want to kill me?
My gosh, it's like on 30 Rock where Jenna gets upset that like her stalker has like gotten help and like has a job now.
I
She's
feel
like,
like that could be my final girl story where it's like, stop paying attention to me. Wait, what? You don't want to murder me? Why
rude,
not?
rude, really.
Taking the
Um,
rejection pretty hard.
Thank you so much for coming on here and chatting with me again.
Thank you for indulging my ramblings, my vampire ramblings and non-vampire ramblings. I love talking to you. I love the show. I'm such a fan. So it's
Mm,
always such a joy to be here.
mm. Well, thank you so much. Everyone needs to go order So Thirsty
Yes,
because
please.
I'm trying
It's
to do
part of
it fast. I'm
Vampire
like,
Fall. It's
yeah,
part of
it
Vampire Fall. A necessary accessory.
yeah, the first part of getting into Vampire Fall is you have to be seen out with your copy of So
So
Thirsty.
thirsty. Yes.
Be ahead of the curve,
Yes.
ahead of the trend. Books in the Freezer is a bi weekly podcast. We post episodes every other Tuesday. You can find us on Threads, Instagram, and TikTok at Books in the Freezer, or you can send us an email at booksinthefreezer@gmail.com. Show notes for this episode and all previous episodes are at booksinthefreezer.com, where you will find a list of the books and movies mentioned in the episode. Show notes also contain different ways you can support the podcast, ranging from a link to our Patreon, to affiliate links, to a link to our TeePublic store where you can buy Books in the Freezer merch, like a What's Your Final Girl shirt, or a freezer worthy sweater, or a Books in the Freezer logo mug or sticker. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But you don't have to spend any money to show your support. things like sharing on social media or leaving a review on a site like Apple Podcasts is huge and helps the podcast gain visibility, which is really important for indie shows like this. I have been your host, Stephanie Gagne. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time on Books in the Freezer.